Okay. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us at this year's RevCon. Really excited about this particular session. We have Lindsey Plocek here, who is the Senior Marketing Manager for AI solution over at Mindtickle. And then we have Neel Kamal, who is the co-founder of BoostUp. And what they're going to be talking to you today is really how to build a dynamic sales team through marrying the relationship between sales and operations. So I look forward to hearing their content. Stay active in the chat. You can ask all sorts of questions there, and they are going to have a quick Q&A at the end. So feel free to ask questions there as well. With that, I'm going to go ahead and pop backstage, but really looking forward to this session. Enjoy and learn a lot.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the intro, Bree. Thank you, Neel, for being with me here today. We're going to share 4 pro tips on how enablement and RevOps can work together to drive revenue results, to drive sales productivity. And as we kick it off here, Neel, we know this moment in the market is particular and there are some unique things about it. I thought maybe you could kick us off here and share a little bit about how that's impacting revenue teams.
Absolutely. And thank you, everyone, for listening in. Where we are in the current stage in the market is difficult. Economy is hurting, especially for sales team, which is predominantly dependent upon every wheel humming well so that you can work on your deal, work with your customer, and maximize the revenue. Enablement and sales operation are key fundamental pillars to come together to empower the sales team to work on revenue and produce lots of revenue. So where we are in the market, deals are not closing. Budgets are frozen, priorities are shifted, and the mindset of our buyer across the board, irrespective of what solutions you're selling, is not on buying, but more on conserving. So deals are not closing. That's our first observation. Second observation, if you talk to sales rep, is they are hurting. They're trying a lot. They're being inventive. They're being creative. They're being brave. They're forecasting, but they do not have certainty. They're following the process to the T, and yet things are not happening. So they are hurting. Their commissions are hurting. Their morale is hurting. And finally, enablement and RevOps, for the first time or after a long time, have some time on their hand because it's not deals every day. So this is a time that they can go focus on core infrastructural things. Both enablement team and operations team take pride in building core infrastructure that propel the revenue team to an excellence, to the next stage in the journey, wherever they are. And this might be the time, or that's what we are hearing. This is the time when they have the attention and bandwidth to focus on building core infrastructure.
So yeah, I mean, we're not going to mince words here. Neel and I have both been sales reps, sales leaders. It's not the easiest time, but this silver lining really is this opportunity to improve the way that your revenue team operates. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some real strategies you can get in place to fix some of these challenges to help your reps, sell more than they are currently. So we call this concept complete revenue readiness. So the concept is really to provide the sales rep with everything they need in one easy place, all the training, content, and insights to make them successful. And not just sales reps, but CSMs, BDRs, other teams as well. And also make it easy for enablement and operations to deliver programs, to deliver, really personalized buyer experiences and tools for sales reps to work more productively, to get insights from all the different interactions that are happening, the calls, the emails, the meetings. And so, Neel, I know BoostUp has really doubled down on revenue readiness. Can you talk to me about what your tech stack looks like for readiness over there and what changes you've made in the last year?
Absolutely. And I think this particular diagram and slide captures it. There has been a lot of talk about technology-assisted sale and how salesmen and women out there they are an expensive resource, and therefore empower them with the power of technology for the best outcome, for the best revenue outcome. And these are these 8 areas which are really, really core and powerful. It starts with content, goes into training and enablement, goes into practice and reinforcement. It's almost right before a big game, you do your practice in the next session. Then there is the coaching. This is where the manager comes in. Conversation intelligence, which captures, it's like the game tape equivalent. It is what is happening in the field, reviewing it, understanding it, and utilizing that for becoming better. Engagements, these are engagements beyond the call, over email, LinkedIn messages, and various other mechanisms that you are using throughout the sales cycle. After working on all of that, bring it together to forecasting, which is about your commitment to the business. Are you running your book of business and committing to the company that you work for? And finally, CRM and data level hygiene, so that it starts with good hygiene but comes back around to ultimately back to a good hygiene. These are core 8 pillars to be revenue ready. If your sales organization and your operations team and enablement team, they are purely working on each one of these 8 at one point of time. And what we represent here is working together between Mindtickle and BoostUp. We have solution in each one of these 8 boxes to help you reach there. We have utilized this in our instance in BoostUp and are seeing tremendous results out of it. And similarly, Mindtickle have utilized this stack for their sales team and seeing tremendous results out there. Happy to share stories in a one-on-one conversation or through questions from hundreds of customers across the board who are utilizing this to achieve revenue excellence.
That's great. And, we are really seeing the same. It's actually been a very big month for us at Mindtickle after a couple difficult months in this economy. And when we talk about some of the stats that we're seeing out there, one of the big challenges is quota attainment. And so the 4 tips we're about to share are really there to help you help more sellers hit quota. So today, most teams are achieving 43% of their quota. But one of the big opportunities is really to coach more. And according to the Sales Enablement Society and Forrester, investing in coaching tools increases win rates 8%. Investing in conversation and revenue intelligence is going to increase a lot of different metrics, but mostly net new deals and better quota attainment. So we know this stuff is working. We use it ourselves, but let's get into some practical tips to help you, address some of this stuff. And so the first one came from you, Neel. You said, work winnable deals, don't chase everything. And I wanted to ask you a little bit more about what you meant there. How do you get your team focused on truly winnable deals at this moment in time?
Yeah, that's a great point. Every sales rep, manager, leader out there who has experienced difficult times know that chasing everything or just a wider net does not produce result. And yet it is our intent, right? When we are hurting for revenue, when we want to do more, we end up trying and hitting every ball or trying and making the fishnet as large as possible. This is a mistake, and we can be smarter. The reason we actually go wider is because we do not know how to narrow. We do not know which are those 20 deals that we should work on. And this is where you can really utilize technology. With the power of AI, where it is between sales operations and enablement tool, for the first time, it is possible to take all digital signals from your demand gen side, which is readiness of the customer, your engagement side, which is how your demand gen team and your and your BDR, SDR team is interacting, sales engagement, how your sales team, customer, and your solution consultant are engaging with your client, and even customer success team on the side of and land and expand motion, how they are engaging. All of that engagement can be brought together to come up with an understanding of who is the customer where you will be most successful, which part of the pipe is most engaged, and these are the ones to work on. And if you utilize that tactics, you will naturally improve your win rate, because the quality of your work will improve as you narrow down the number of deals that you're working on. So this is humongously important, and especially in time where we are in the world, with the economy hurting the way it is and deals becoming difficult. This is our pro tip number one: focus on winnable deals.
That's great. And I really couldn't emphasize this enough as well. And so what you'll see here is that if you use an AI tool, it's also a good way to help your reps coach themselves. So what we do at Mindtickle is we send up these signals. Hey, you haven't engaged enough contacts. They're not the appropriate level. Buyer sentiment on the last call was a little low. Maybe the CRO mentioned a competitor and we were in the negotiate stage, or, further down the line there. So these signals are great for reps to coach themselves, and they're also great for managers to do better, faster, deeper deal reviews. They say each manager is actually responsible for about 200 hours of call time in a given month, and they're not attending all those calls, right? They can't even attend a fraction of them. So this is a really good way for them to provide that data-driven coaching. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is how you can never miss an opportunity again by really listening to calls and using conversation intelligence to get voice of customer insights. So, Neel, how does your team use conversation intelligence today? What are some of the use cases you're pursuing?
Absolutely. So, keeping the theme of our pro tip one, which is focus on the right deal. Once you focus your energy on the right deal, the call intelligence is actually helping in two ways. It is reinforcing the message that you are working the right deal by identifying the definition of right. If a prospect is engaging, if the body language is positive, if the words uttered are the keywords that matter in your business, the call intelligence technology will then reinforce that and say, you're working the right deal, so feel confident. And secondly, it will help you with better execution, because you can go back in time, you can listen to it, you have the transcription. It allows very healthy collaboration between sales rep and managers and other team which are involved in the selling, so that they can all operate from the facts and not opinions, but the facts that happen during the conversation and throughout the cycle in a deal.
That's a great point. And just to emphasize something you said, collaboration is so important here. If you're not sharing calls with product marketing, CS, you are not going to drive the win rates that you could. That is definitely certain. We at Mindtickle use this to see what percentage of the team is actually succeeding at bringing up our newest products, our newest services, our new marketing campaigns. And are there chances to improve? Is one team pitching a new product appropriately more than another? And the only reason we're missing opportunities on that other team is we just missed at bats. So this is a really good way to also see what unmet needs do your customers have and what deal blockers exist that you can address. So those are some of the top use cases we pursue there. And now getting to our second pro tip. So Neel, you said improve your deal execution. Average won't cut it anymore. And
That's right.
Yes, did you want to elaborate on that?
Absolutely. Look, this is a tough environment. Every deal is precious, but at the same time, the right deals, once you identify the right deals, you need to go all in. This is not new. You probably are hearing that from your CROs, from your sales managers, and from your leadership. However, what we want to emphasize here is in execution of a deal, there are many, many steps. Not all steps are equally important. For example, in some deals, POC would be very, very important, but reference call might be of relatively less importance. In some deals, doing a value assessment or a value exercise would be important, but ROI might not be as important. So similarly, every deal is different. But once you have identified that this is the deal that you're going after, this is an opportunity that you are going to spend and bet your quarter on, you need to go all in. and you don't leave any stone unturned. Even though it might feel like POC is the way to success, do not do references. Do not offer proactive references. Even if it feels like doing value assessment is what is the right thing in the value pyramid for the customer, do not offer ROI study, or do not take the lazy approach of not building a good ROI study. If there was ever a time to emphasize on every little step, every stone that could be unturned, that should be done now. And that is our pro tip too. Now, again, we, between BoostUp, which is a forecasting and revenue intelligence platform, and Mindtickle, which is enablement platform, there is a lot that we can help you with in terms of technology assistance that we can provide to improve your deal execution. And in fact, software technology across the board are best to do that. Human minds, if we analyze human mind, we have a natural order that we do. If you give us a task, 10 tasks, we naturally will understand what is most important, and we will put all our energy on that, because we are emotional being, we are logical being. Software is not like that. They are not emotional, and they are not logical or prioritization. They would show you everything. So by utilizing tools, you can actually make sure that every step that is required to do a fantastic job at the execution is done and is taken, and thereby improving your win rate. That's
a really great point. And just to emphasize a few things you said there. So the first thing I heard is that you need to go above and beyond. And above and beyond isn't going to be just, looking at specific deals at the 11th hour before they churn. It's actually developing core skills like that ability to drive a value discussion, that ability to talk about ROI. And so you really need data on both of these areas, right? So which deals do you prioritize and where are we at? But also, what skills does the team need to ultimately deliver on all the different many ways to win a deal? So you see here some of the things that Neel mentioned. I know one thing that really was successful for us this year was we put on our first roadshow, and we did 4 educational workshops around the US and in London, and brought a bunch of customers on stage to just talk candidly about their challenges. And that was really successful, actually. I think educational workshops for customers is sometimes an underutilized tool in the tool belt. Customer referrals, certainly very, very important right now. Trust is at an all-time low, right? People have tried many technologies, and they know that often it's the services that you receive that determine if you succeed or not, right? So that customer referral is very key. And I wanted to ask you about one other thing here, Neel. So what do you think about the concept of digital sales rooms and kind of creating a website landing page or a hub to help your champion work deals? Is this something you guys do or are thinking about over there?
Absolutely. It's another idea of digital, evolution of selling. If you go back in time, 10, 15 years, when we were predominantly in the mode of you would have a PDF that you would carry in your suitcase as a sales rep and go leave that with the customer. And that would be a brochure of some kind, a proposal of some kind. Then came, everybody had their experience curated websites, and therefore you can go into the right pages of the website and find those information. So we have nearly stopped carrying product brochures because website came in. Similar translation need to happen with sales level collaterals. Whether you're doing ROI study, or you did a value assessment, or you did requirement gathering, or you have customer reference videos or product videos. If you think about a sales cycle, which could be 3 to 6 months long or longer, in many cases of our customers, the number of content that you share with the customer could be in 50s or hundreds. And number of people engaged with that content could be also 20 to 100. But not all of them are all happening at the same time. This is why it is incredibly important to have a digital sales room where all these assets are available and organized, And that allows both the great experience for the buyer, but it also allows analytics for the seller team to understand who is engaging and who is not engaging. We use this effectively in our sales cycle, and our customer give tremendous feedback on simplicity with which all data has been shared with them.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely are seeing more people get excited about these. I want to make this interactive. So I'm just curious, put in the chat, do you create digital sales rooms or personalized experiences for your customers yet? Has that been valuable for you? I know I'm in charge of enabling our company on our new product innovations, essentially. And when I'm looking at the pipeline and I sit down with reps, I always ask them, did we create a digital sales room and what type of engagement are we getting? Because if no one's going in here, if no one's engaging with even a couple pieces of content, it's not a real deal. So this is a way for us to face harsh reality. And in fact, you will be often surprised by what you see customers engaging with. We've identified upsell, cross-sell opportunities that I don't think we would have known we have. When we noticed that a particular customer was checking out a piece of content in there.
Yeah.
So
there is a question in the chat box that I would love to take, Lindsey.
Sure, yes.
This is from Courtney. I'll repeat the question for everybody. She is asking, with conversation intelligence, should there be a day where reps and manager should have one-on-one discussion about all calls that took place? And I have a story to share, because I can see both sides of this argument. The first side of it is, because the call is actually recorded and transcribed and intelligence is mined, it is possible for a manager to go through it and have a conversation with you. So that's the forward side. The backward side is, if a manager and a rep is having a conversation about every single deal, it is going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of time consumption discussing every single deal and listening to it. Would take managers' time, it would take reps' time, and it would, to some extent, could feel like micromanagement. So there is both good and bad to this. However, this brings me to a story. Around 2006 was the time I decided that I'm going to buy lots of gifts for all of our family members for Thanksgiving. Actually, we were not getting a chance to meet them face to face that particular year, so I thought I'll buy. And my go-to store at that time, for good or bad, was I think Target. So we bought a lot of things, and then I spent numerous number of hours chasing, calling 1-800-Target to see if the packet has arrived. Have you received them? Sometimes I'm calling my aunt. Sometimes I'm calling the 800, the support and delivery systems and numbers. 10 years forward, now we can do the same thing, and all you have to do is check on your Amazon app where the shipment is it delivered or not, and you even get to see a picture. So what happened during these 10 years is technology tremendously changed the game. If I were to ask you this question in 2005, should you be buying gifts remotely or online for everybody and shipping it, and asking chase the delivery guy for every single packet, and then also call your family member to see if they have received the packet, you'll say, that's too much, Neel. That's not going to happen. While it is a good gesture on your behalf that you want to do that, it's too much. It's the same problem with call review between a manager and rep. It will feel too much. But if you have the technology like Amazon did, it will not feel too much. So truly, if you have conversation intelligence, it is very easy and very possible, and revenue intelligence, if you have these technologies, very easy and very possible to be on top of every call, to be on top of every deal. You never have to call somebody, ask these questions. This will show up in your dashboards. Meeting happened, the quality of the conversation, tough questions that were asked, whether they were answered, was the follow-up done, what was the engagement on the follow-up, are the content that you are sharing is being consumed by the customers or not, with the deal that you are projecting, what is AI saying about its ability to close. All of these questions, which otherwise could have taken 10 to 15 to 20 minutes of a long conversation between a sales rep and a manager, and probably a difficult conversation between sales rep and manager, they can all be simplified if you have these technologies in place.
Yeah, and I'll double down on that. So I think what Neel is saying is with revenue and conversation intelligence together, it's really more like that Amazon experience. So for example, I used to go in and pick random calls to listen to. Now I go in, I look at all the deals and the account and deal health scores associated with those deals. And they're red, yellow, green, right? So I look at the yellow one specifically because I'm like, we might not have the engagement we need, but this deal is clearly very real. Then I click in and I look at all the emails, the calls, I click into the call, and then I just review the highlighted key moments of that call. Usually the longest customer monologue is like the juicy bit because that's when the customer opened up a lot. So together, you don't have to sit down and listen to every call. You can just find the ones that are most important. And I think that's what's going to get a lot more people adopting and using this stuff. Because before it was like finding a needle in a haystack. So that's definitely something we have done a lot of at Mindtickle. We're also doing a lot more like theme of the month call scoring. So if discovery is the theme of the month, we roll out a training and then the managers have a quick scorecard and they go through and give feedback and they discuss that with their reps. Okay, so our next tip is utilize technology to assist your front line. And we're going to talk about 3 different parts of the front line. The first is reps and managers. What do you think are some of the top things reps and managers should be doing to work more productively?
Yeah, there's a great point, and kind of we're ducktailing into it. We were talking about it before as well. Technology has really changed the game. I've been in sales for almost 15 years now in different roles. And where the digital technology is taking sales and engagement between sales and manager is really to a superlative degree. Back in the days, we used to spend time, mostly waste time in getting updates. There used to be sync up call, there used to be update calls. A rep and a manager are all, these are like 20 questions. Did you write to the person? Did you chase them? Where is the NDA? What happened to the MSA? Have you sent the pricing code? On and on and on. And in some ways, these were not happy conversation because it feels to the rep on the other side, it's like, I know this, man. Or I know this, like, I know, Mr. Manager, I know these things. You don't need to ask these questions. It would feel micromanagerial and it would not be happy conversation. And truth be told, there is not much value of asking those questions. But the reason we used to do that is because it's not what happened that we are trying to find out. It's what didn't happen is what we are trying to find out. As sales manager, their job is to find out what didn't happen, where things went wrong, where things went right. But it is really hard to ask somebody, what did you forget to do? If you called your rep and said, just tell me what the step that you missed, and my job would be easy. That's not going to happen. So because of the way we ask all those questions about what happened to figure out what didn't happen. And then we tell them about it. But in the process, we have wasted time and emotions because it feels micromanaging. It feels like I know this and I obviously did this. That is now transformed with the technology where it is now. Today, with revenue intelligence and call intelligence, you don't have to play the 20 dumb questions. You can just visually see and understand what didn't happen. And then when you call your rep, they will actually be very happy to receive your call because now you are truly helping them rather than quizzing them and asking all these questions. So this is not only saving time, but actually bringing lots of happiness and building great relationship between sales rep and managers. This is my favorite part of this technology, the one that we have built and brought to the market.
That is a fantastic point. It's so true when it comes to these technologies. Like really, it's there to help your reps save time, right? Not going on unnecessary bunches of meetings to transfer notes. Customers also have commented that for them, it's a better buyer experience because new people join the deal and you don't have to repeat the same first 15-minute intro with all the stuff that has already been covered in so many different meetings. So it's really important there. So Pawan said on point, completely. I used to go for new product launches. I used to look in Salesforce and be like, oh, we have 20 new deals for this. And I would write every single person on Slack, what's going on with this? Now I go in and I get much more context and I say, hey, I see that, this competitor has come up recently. Do you want me to join as like a product expert on your next call? Do you want us to get a referral going here? And usually, to Neel's point, those things weren't crossing someone's mind and they're like, oh yes, thank you for reminding me. So it goes from feeling big brothery to feeling truly helpful. So I loved that point. Really, really fantastic point. And I know we have others on the front line too. So RevOps is a team that I think is super important, increasingly so. How do you help them do more with less and improve productivity and just the work experience for that team?
Absolutely. That's a great question. And a huge part of the current tech in the revenue stack is to help revenue operation. Back in the days, revenue operations used to be sort of a support job, but now more and more, revenue operations have become a critical function. In fact, one can argue that it is one of the most function of a revenue team. It is the function that is bringing information from demand gen side, from the sales operation side, and customers operation side, all in one umbrella. The challenge of this space that modern technology solves is just a lot of data and distributed in a lot of places. I'll give you an example. If you think about a sales operation guy or gal whose job is to bring together forecasting in one place, think about how many things has to be brought together. First is the hierarchy, which is sitting either in Salesforce or in a spreadsheet. It could be 4 layers of hierarchy, rep reporting into manager, manager to director, director to VPs, and VP to the CRO. So 5 level of hierarchy. Second is quota, because to understand forecast, you also have to know what is their individual quota. That is either stored in a separate system or a spreadsheet somewhere. So that's the second data source. A third data source is how much have they closed so far? That's a third data source. Fourth data source is what is their pipeline, best case commit pipeline, how are those organized, as a fourth data source. Number 5 is what are these people committing? What did the rep say they're going to do? What did the manager say they're going to do? Did the manager override the rep or did they just add it up? What did the director say? What did the VP say? That's the 5th and 6th data sources. And now you don't just want these 6 data sources, you want the same data sources for last week. Because it's not just important to know what did you say you're going to close this week. We want to know what did you say last week. It's not just important to say how much is your quota this quarter, what was your quota last quarter. So now 6 times 12, 6 times 2 is 12. So you have 12 separate data sources that you want to bring together. But it's not just that. Then what happens is, if I am a rep and I'm saying I'll do 800K this quarter, you want to know which are the deals that is coming from. Then for those deals, you want to know what is the context of those deals. Did the meeting happen? Is the medic written out? What is the engagement quality? So it goes into so much data that our CRO customer of mine who we engaged, he said, if I am traveling, Neel, on the day that I'm traveling, I simply cannot do forecast meeting. It is because it takes me 3 screens, one of which is a wide screen where I have 2 sections. It takes me 4 screens to run a forecast meeting because number of reports that my operations team has given me. And while in that statement, it sounded like life is very complicated for him, the number of hours that went into for an ops person to build that out for the CRO every week, just imagine the amount of time wastage. This can be solved. We don't have to live this way anymore. We don't all have to have thick glasses, 4 screens in our desktop, and not be able to do forecasting when I am traveling or when we are traveling. This is the transformation that you all can achieve. This is the same transformation that both BoostUp company and Mindtickle as a company is getting through the advent of technology. This is also called ROI technology. Revenue operation and revenue intelligence were two separate categories. Now they're brought together. Some of the things that we mentioned before, they were RI technology, revenue intelligence, and this is called RO technology, revenue operations. So that's where the world is, and is a phenomenal area of improvement. For all my RevOps brothers and sisters out there and friends, this could be game-changing for you.
Awesome. Yeah, if anyone has RevOps questions, put them in the chat. Connect with Neel on LinkedIn. He truly is an expert in this area. And just to kind of round us home here, the other frontline team that needs to do more with less right now is certainly enablement. We are launching new products and services left and right at Mindtickle. We have 5 different product lines. A lot of people are doing that in a very competitive economy, but that means there's more enablement to do. So Courtney, I'm going to actually answer your question here while I'm on this slide. So you said, would it help if sales reps and managers had like an all-in-one site similar to that digital sales room we mentioned, but just for the seller side? Yes, absolutely. We actually create similar, we call them sales plays, but there's landing pages for all of our new products or our new sales motions with a little video that introduces why is that part of the business important? What are the key messaging points that you need to succeed? Who are you actually qualifying? What are some red, green flags? And what's all of the content that you're going to use to close that deal? So what do you say, show, do as a BDR versus in the pricing and negotiation phase? So we call those sales plays. Between sales plays and templates and really, really empowering managers to coach more. Those are some of the 3 things that we're seeing help enablement do more with less. So we have one more tip here, and I want to move through it quickly so we can answer more questions. So every crisis is an opportunity. Put a good infrastructure in place. So really, I think the main thing I would like to double down about this session is that there are a couple of things that are really important here. It's not just looking at deals, but building skills, building workflows that your team is actually going to use that's going to drive a deal home. And using data to really empower them to personalize that buyer experience and empower their managers to help them is absolutely critical. So I don't know if you would add anything there, Neel, but those were kind of the things that I had noticed. And I just wanted to show one more thing here. Sorry, my slides are out of order. But we call this idea of using data the sales readiness index at Mindtickle. So when we look at if a rep's going to hit quota or not, there are really 3 things that we see drive that. Do they have the skills? Do they have the will? Are they doing all the activities? And are they demonstrating the right behaviors when they're emailing customers, when they're on calls? And we really take all that information and provide an assessment of, well, which teams and people are ready to hit quota or not? Who is ready with the right information on products and competitors and such? And what competency do we need to work on with each person and team? So we really think the power of bringing this enablement data together and the amazing revenue intelligence data that Neel's team provides, bringing it together really helps us assess readiness, not just if a deal is going to close tomorrow or if people did great on a quiz, but are they really ready in all regards? So Neel, did you have anything else to add? And then I think we have a couple more questions here. A lot of them, actually.
Yeah, we should take questions, I think.
Let's do questions. Okay.
I think there is a question from Bren, which is about data, that all of the revenue, let me repeat the question. All of the enablement and sales operation is facilitated with data. And we know sellers do not like to have time to enter those into the tools. How do you balance the need for all sorts of data, pipeline, engagement that may be dependent upon? This is a great point. And there are 2 innovations that have come to the market which has solved this problem. The first innovation is more on the back end, which is the data ecosystem. Ultimately, wherever the engagement is happening, whether it is Zoom call or emails or outreach or you are using Superhuman as an app. All of this ultimately goes through your email backend database. And modern technology like ours and Mindtickle, they are actually attached to the hip in the backend, so they are capturing all data. This is actually a boon to the world because now you're not dependent upon the rep to be the curator of the data on engagement side. The second side is process-led data, whether it is medic process, whether it is your forecasting process. The reason it used to be hard is because going into Salesforce and inputting that data in multiple places is just clunky because you have to go many places, you don't know where you're going, and for every deal you have to update it every week. It just becomes hundreds of fields updated. This has also been changed by amazing usability innovation that these products have brought in. You never have to leave the comfort of one screen, and you can update everything from just that screen for every single deal that you have. So you made an excellent point, Bren, and you should check out these technologies. It will help on both sides. You would not have to do the dumb data, and for smart data, you would never have to leave the screen. It is UI innovation that has brought that to market.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way we do this at Mindtickle is BoostUp's revenue intelligence is a tab in Mindtickle. So I log in, I see all of the content that was released that day that's trending. I see all the trainings that are targeted to me. I see the call recordings that have been shared with me. And the first thing I do is go to that revenue intelligence tab and look at what's happening with the deal and account health. So it's really, really easy. And then everything could be edited right there. So it's a lot easier for reps when we start to consolidate these workflows and not make them have to jump through so many hoops. There's another great question in here from Courtney. You said, does someone need years of sales or sales management experience to work in enablement? So I would say having sales experience certainly helps you if you're working in sales enablement. I think it's pretty critical, but I have seen some instances where, for instance, my friend who is a product expert, she moved into sales enablement because that product became the core product. Everyone needed help selling, and she was able to shadow and learn from sales leaders and build really great relationships with them. And she had that natural skill set. So I think it is possible, but you either have to be a deep expert on something the team needs, or I would certainly recommend trying to get that sales experience. Okay. Whoops. Let's see here. There's another question here.
There is one. What is the USP of Mindtickle when we compare this with existing AI sales tech platform like Outplay?
Gotcha. So almost everything that we do from a Mindtickle standpoint that reps would be participating in is in Mindtickle now. We do also use Outreach. So that is the outreach tool we use. I don't know if that answers the question. Neel, did you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I think I can answer at a high level. There is a lot of talk about AI technologies. And while this is a common term, ultimately what people are talking about is intelligence. And the simple way to think about it, it is the intelligence that you always wanted that you never have or you never had. Like, for example, you buy an enablement platform and you enable a bunch of people, but you don't have call recording. How do you know that their enablement is actually turning into results? How do you know how well they are doing? So the answer to all this question and how rich it would be is all data. With the partnership between BoostUp and Mindtickle, how the data on the revenue intelligence side, with enablement side, with call intelligence side, under the cover sits together, empowers the AI engine to actually produce better results than anybody else. Those who do not have this data, they will not be able to produce that kind of output. And so the USP of Mindtickle and BoostUp technology is that it has access to a lot more data than any competitor out there, and therefore they are a lot more intelligent, a lot more smarter. More questions?
I think we might have gotten all of the questions, and we're ending in 20 seconds here. So I just wanted to say a big thank you you can come to the booth or reach out to Neel and I on LinkedIn. We're both very active on LinkedIn, and we'd love to answer your questions. Thanks, everyone, for the engagement. Thank you, Neel, for the awesome tips. Always learn a lot from you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.